Welcome back. You got Will and I Man here from the Block Runner, MetaZone, and Rovi, and today we're going to talk about Bitmap land.
Bitmap, dude. We're talking about the most important standard ever created.
Yeah, so
especially from our perspective, because we are the Metaverse bras.
Yeah,
right?
So we're going to stick with our ordinal theme for today as well, and we're going to talk about the Metaverse on Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's a big deal. So we said a lot of crazy things already in like a few sentences.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Shout out to the team over there at Bitmap, Bitoshi Blockamoto, and I think what's the fish guy?
Fish brain.
Fish brain. Thank you guys for reaching out to us with this a few days ago, right? Because I'm assuming you guys watch the channel regularly. I wouldn't know why else you guys would feel the desire to reach out to us like before anybody else. But
yeah.
There it is. There's the tweet.
Yeah.
Ever since we started looking into this, we're like, wow, this thing might have some serious legs.
Yeah.
You know? And I feel like we guys are us.
Did you know that we're more than just a YouTube channel? We also built MetaZone, the first app store for the Metaverse. Buy, sell, and explore a new class of digital assets like our flagship game Rovi.ai. Support us by collecting your digital assets through MetaZone at metazone.io. Like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated. All right, back to the video.
We have some kind of authority to weigh in on this.
Yeah,
right?
We're equipped to understand quickly what this means. Yeah. And so let's break this down. So here's the first tweet. It says, something you might like, the Block Runner, since you talk a lot about the intersection of Web3, Bitcoin Ordinals, and Metaverse. This is the center of that Venn diagram. So what is he referring to? It says, looks like there's 8 blocks left in double-digit territory, working on simple, proper interface so you can see which blocks are available without having to search each number of Unisat. So this is, what is it? What's today? This is like 8 days ago. No, it's 5 days ago. And so we've been looking into it since then, and looks like they've come up with some sort of roadmap, not roadmap, but like standard for what they're calling the Bitmap Theory 101.
Yeah, it's a proposal, I guess, it's like a call to the Metaverse community. Whoever's interested, whatever party's interested in, in the idea, right? We're witnessing this Ordinals renaissance occur before our eyes. We just went through now a new upgrade to that called recursive inscriptions and stuff. So there's improvements happening.
That's our video yesterday.
Yeah, this ecosystem is only growing bigger and bigger and bigger. And we're starting to see a lot of the same like evolutionary pathways that, Ethereum and other smart contract ecosystems, displayed during their maturation cycles, right? You start off with, some kind of fungibility token, some sort of like a NFT inscription tool, and then eventually you morph into like DeFi, and eventually GameFi is going to come in.
Yep.
Eventually real world assets, like all these different things that have already happened on Ethereum. And then you get the layer 2 stuff coming. But the one thing that not many people are talking about yet is the Metaverse.
That's right.
There is a Metaverse layer that it does exist on the Ethereum network, right? And we actively build on it. Decentraland exists. Crypto voxels exist. Somnium Space, Sandbox. Pretty soon the other side, Metaverse. There's a lot going on in this space. And now that Apple is part of it, it's interesting again, right? So why wouldn't people start to talk about the Metaverse on Bitcoin? How are we going to make that happen? Yeah. And this is like the first real big stab at that, All
right. So what is Bitmap? It's an open source standard that allows anyone to ascribe ownership of a Bitcoin block by inscribing it onto a satoshi using Ordinals and the Bitmap standard.
Yep.
The process is equitable and decentralized, turning any Bitcoin block into part of the Metaverse at the cost of energy. So how does it work? Any block on the Bitcoin blockchain can be inscribed, making it an integral part of the Metaverse. Platforms can parse this block data into the 3D realm and grant build access to block owners, creating a new paradigm for open source development. So all the links will be in the description. This is a pretty short read, how to inscribe a block, how to search for blocks, and how to view blocks. So all this really sums up to this. So let me paint the picture. So what you're looking at is bitfeed.live, and you're seeing actual transactions happening on Bitcoin. These little squares are being added to the mempool. If you don't know what the mempool is, it's basically a collection of transactions waiting to be added to the block on the chain, on the Bitcoin's blockchain. So all these guys are waiting. This guy is the last one mined on Bitcoin's network.
Well, that's the block, right?
That's the block.
So that has all the transactions that were loaded into it over like its 10-minute life cycle.
That's right.
Much. Yeah.
So let me kind of highlight just a random transaction here. You have the transaction ID, 1 input, 5 outputs, 241 bytes, and total transaction for this particular transaction is $35,000. So roughly 1.38 Bitcoin.
Okay.
And then you have a 3.72 million transaction, and essentially you have, what's it here, 2,652 transactions in this block.
Right.
So what does this block look like to you, I-Man?
It looks like some kind of city, dude.
Yeah. Right.
Like a grid, right? Of some kind.
Yeah. And so imagine this block being a district.
Yeah.
And then within that district are little parcels within this particular block.
Right.
So what we're looking at here is a virtual world with parcels. And this virtual world can now be owned by anybody through this Bitmap standard.
Yeah, basically like the standard of what it is you need to inscribe in order for like the ecosystem to recognize ownership.
Yes.
Right, of these different blocks. So if you go to Unisat, that's going to be like your main inscription interface to get into this. So if you go to Unisat, you can kind of show them how to do that real quickly. It's pretty easy.
Yeah. So basically search, go to text, type in Bitmap, hit enter, and then you'll see there's only been 340 inscriptions.
Yeah, and there's how many blocks have been minted already? Like over 700,000 blocks total.
Yes, almost
800,000. So that's basically the accessible bandwidth of like existing blocks, right? If you want to own one of these things and then know what data or transactional layer exists within it, therefore your topography of what's potential as far as how many parcels and the layout of them. I mean, they can be interpreted however they want to be interpreted, right? As far as like what the parcels can look like. The point is, this is how you assign ownership to everything. Purely off of like the existing data information that exists within these blocks itself. Like you don't have to do anything. If you're familiar with how the metaverse has kind of already like come to fruition, it's all some sort of like, some team, some organization out there. They'll generate a smart contract. Here's 100,000 parcels.
Correct.
We'll sell them to you guys, buy them, and here's like a map of a bunch of squares that we made up.
Yeah.
That's really based on nothing. It's totally arbitrary, right?
Right.
So the main difference here is like this is not. I mean, even though it does render in some sort of arbitrary state, the logic behind like the limitations of each district, and it's not arbitrary, right? It's real events happening in Bitcoin's history.
Yeah, so you could imagine a world that's procedurally generated based on the transactions of a given block.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you have like the different segmentations of the parcels based on the transactions. So if you have a bunch of tiny transactions, like here's 14 cents.
Yeah.
Right. And over here, we're looking at 3.7 million. And so all this is random. All this is like actual transactions that happen in the real world.
Right.
All being sort of put together in the form of a district and virtual land in the form of parcels. And so what's cool is that every single 10 minutes, a brand new virtual world is spawned.
Yeah.
And through the standard, you can own this district. And then if you're the owner of a particular district, you can sell the individual parcels to your community.
So how do you take ownership?
So the way you take ownership is through Unisat. It's been kind of the best interface for this so far. You go to inscribe, you go to text, and then first what you want to do is make sure it doesn't exist. So let's say, 794,000.bitmap. You search for it.
So this is the naming. This is it. Like this is the naming system for identifying and assigning and claiming ownership, right? It's the block number.bitmap. It's really that simple.
Yeah, and so if you want to see what this particular block number actually looks like, you can go to Bitfeed here and type in 794,000 and then hit search. And then if you were to buy this is the virtual land that you'd be purchasing.
Right. Or basically 2,195 transactions means that's the limitation of this district in particular, like how many individual parcels. I mean, who knows in the future? There's like some sort of like sharding mechanism to make even more like, you know,
Granular?
parcels within like these parcels that are available. But the point is like the elegance of this design, and like especially from us as like, you know, Metaverse, you know, developers ourselves, this eliminates a lot of like the arbitrary confusion behind like what to do with creating like a virtual environment, like you know, how to create some sort of sense of artificial scarcity, whatever the components are needed to draw value to your virtual experience.
Mm-hmm.
This is just it's just manifested for you.
Yeah,
right. There's nothing to really interpret here. It is what it is. It can't be tampered with.
Yeah,
you know, you're leveraging Bitcoin for this specific purpose, just to like kind of like get past all the arbitrary stuff and get to the world building stuff as quick as possible.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, and so just to give you some context, let's take a look at the very first block, right? If you guys understand like the history of Bitcoin, you know that the first block went to Satoshi.
Yeah.
There's a single transaction. It's 50 Bitcoin. And obviously this Bitcoin has never moved.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you kind of look into, let's do like 10,000th block and see what that looks like.
Probably the same thing.
Same thing. Right. And so let's go to 100,000 block just to see what, 4 transactions. Right. Okay. So if you were to buy this 100,000 block, you would be purchasing essentially a district of 4 parcels.
Right. So one of the things, I guess, so the framework of this is already like super interesting and important, and I can see like a million reasons why this could be adopted. But the thing that's not clear yet and hasn't, I guess, been appended to the existing frameworks of this proposed standard is what's going to enforce these rules of like, okay, yeah, I own one of these districts, these blocks, whatever, because I minted my, you know, number.bitmap. Now, how am I the only one that's able to inscribe the district or the parcels within it?
Yeah.
What is going to?
It's going to be part of the standard. That's how you would do it.
Right.
But you're right. I mean, essentially, let's go to 1.bitmap. And as you can see, I guess there's several ones in this, but as you can see, there is a single 1.bitmap. Of course, you can inscribe another 1.bitmap, but the earliest one is the one that gets recognized.
Right. This is kind of like these conversations about like what are even standards, right? So this requires a lot of adoption in order for it to even work or make sense, right?
Correct.
Anybody could just do like, I don't know, 1.metaverse instead of bitmap.
Yeah.
And apply all these different interpretation to a whole new standard. And for whatever reason, they do a better job at, I don't know, galvanizing an ecosystem or community to back that.
Sure.
That becomes the actual standard, right?
Yep, that's right.
So this is standards are cool, but yeah, it requires
adoption.
Yeah. But we're seeing this so far, we've seen other people try and inscribe things like virtual land on Bitcoin, but in like the most basic of a sense.
Yeah, it's another arbitrary inscription.
Yeah, like let's mint 100 inscriptions, and each one represents some land in some virtual realm that doesn't exist yet. But nonetheless, you know, let's build this. Like, that's cool. But
yeah, it's the same thing that happens on Ethereum. It's like arbitrary amount of land. You do a land sale.
Exactly.
And that's it.
There isn't even a standard on Ethereum.
Yeah.
For like, if you're trying to become a part of the Metaverse ecosystem, like you would, I want to be part of the BRC20 ecosystem. Like you have to follow some very restrained orders based on these standards. Same with, I want to be an artist who mints my creations with using inscriptions. Like you have to follow that ethos.
Yes.
There's nothing like that exists for the Metaverse yet. Yeah. This is the first attempt I've seen.
Yeah.
Right?
I totally agree.
That's a big deal.
And like you're saying, I think the word elegance is the perfect, description of how this all works, because every 10 minutes is a heartbeat. Yeah. Bitcoin, another block gets added. That means another world.
Yeah, it adds a whole new, value to Bitcoin, which is the ultimate goal of this whole movement that's happening with Ordinals, right? It's to make Bitcoin truly valuable outside of store value. Yeah. Like probably the least interesting, in my opinion. Yeah. It's like every 10 minutes, you're witnessing the birth of a whole new world.
Yeah, and it follows our kind of thesis about the Metaverse is that scarce land is not the way to go. It would be like trying to invent the internet where there was only the websites were scarce. And that wouldn't make sense. There's billions of websites. Yeah. and 200 million of them get traffic.
Yeah.
And probably top 10 receive like 50% of that traffic.
Correct.
Yeah. So
yeah, you want to do the same thing in the virtual, 3D spatial environment. Like you want to reduce accessibility as much as possible.
Yeah.
Or no. Just don't restrict the accessibility to the metaverse space in any way, because the thing that's going to drive value is having more participants within it, right?
Yeah.
To figure out what is the value, what is the content that's going to make people want to come back and stay, right? So this is a good model because this is an infinite escape. These blocks are going to keep coming in forever.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
As long as Bitcoin stays online, supported by a network, this thing never ends. But the thing that is scarce is what's within each block, right? That's where the market can kind of pick up on this and drive some sort of mania out of it, right? Like I could see somebody influential like BitGod,
Yes.
or Leonidas, like whoever's got the juice of the time.
Yeah.
All you have to do is spin up one of these districts for whatever reason. Just pick one, because you're the one who's going to bring value to it, right?
That's right.
Like this is my BitGod district. I want my community to be with me, present within this virtual environment. So this is it. I have 1,674 parcels up for grabs.
Yeah.
You guys want to be with me in the metaverse while we have deep dive AMAs and we can party together, and I don't know, you guys could display your inscriptions in my land.
Yep.
Let's do it, right? So that's, to me, that's valuable because there's scarcity there.
Yeah.
He's got hundreds of thousands of followers,
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then if you wanted to expand, you just get another district, and then
Exactly.
Let's see where that takes you.
Right. So obviously this hasn't manifested yet. This is more like speculation, and it's like an attempt to try and paint a picture of a use case for this.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously the metaverse is probably one of the more complex endeavors humans are embarking on at the moment. I mean, major companies like Apple and Meta are struggling to figure it out.
Yeah.
But they're present. They know like at some point this is going to be, the main driver of the next computational, efforts of humanity. So, I mean, this is the chance to get it on Bitcoin,
Yeah, and the narrative is so juicy on this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just like think about it. Like every 10 minutes you have a whole new world being minted. Anyone can own it. You can own future blocks if you want.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as that block gets minted, you can potentially in the future deploy a world. And then within that world, you can sell parcels.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you have like a bustling virtual existence on Bitcoin's value layer.
Correct.
So, I mean, I can't think of a more attractive narrative than that. I mean, I knew Bitcoin was cool way before Ordinals, but now it's like very, very cool.
Yeah. I did not think it was cool before Ordinals, but now I'm with you, dude. I think it's very, very cool. Now it's getting even cooler. Now that the metaverse has the potential to have like a significant presence on top of Bitcoin. Like that's really cool, And it's the convergence of these two things is like perfect timing. Now that the metaverse, I feel like has been like not necessarily realized, but validated because of Apple's entrance into this space. It's like, dude, it's the biggest company in the world, wants some piece of that pie.
Yeah.
Like that, there's something there. Right?
Yeah.
That's the validation everybody needed. So we got that going. Bitcoin and Ordinals, it's an ecosystem that just continues to grow and grow and grow. We got Peter Schiff launching art and stuff on here. The biggest of anti-maxis was like now being convinced, like, dude, there's actually something of value to Bitcoin now.
Yeah.
I could use it for my own personal good, whatever. So we're converging with these two ideas, right?
And then the design of Bitcoin just by itself, since 2009, it by itself is really minting these worlds. And because of Ordinals, we're able to like contextualize it into a virtual existence.
Right. So, I mean, there's obviously this is just, this video is just to like paint some awareness, because this is like as foundational and like early as it gets. There's literally nothing here to speculate on yet.
Yeah, this is days old.
True. Like this whole standard proposal is days old. So yeah, there's going to have to be a whole cycle of adoption to this, just like, with BRC20s, with Ordinals itself. People have to believe in this concept and vision and start building with it. You know? So we're obviously very interested in it.
Yeah.
Extremely.
We're going to be following the standard because I mean, if we were to come up with something like this, I don't think we could come up with something better. And so it's important to follow the standards. We're going to be following it. There's a Telegram. There's going to be a Discord, just kind of focused all around this Bitmap.
Yeah.
And what else? And so, I think we invite all the Metaverse builders to build on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Follow the standard. It's still developing. Contribute to the standard.
Yeah.
And then join the community and see where this goes.
Yeah, and also anybody out there interested in, I guess, like front running the idea of like having your creative presence, like being part of this. We have a platform where people have already been submitting content applications called metas, and they've been deployed in Decentraland for years now. And we're imagining something very similar is going to exist, but on Bitcoin. So you're going to have to come to platforms like ours and inscribe these content apps into inscriptions instead of NFTs, right?
That's right.
And I mean, that in itself is going to make them tremendously valuable, I would assume, because you're tapping
apps on Bitcoin. Dude.
You're bringing a whole new asset class into the ordinal space, right? There's no such thing that exists like functional deployable applications that for the metaverse. But in order for them to have like real, I think utility value, first we need to see this landscape grow, and emerge and become.
And we need people adopting the standard.
Yeah. But still, I think it's worth, creating some goods just to build some reputation, in my opinion. Just like people who are building, inscribing art pieces, they're building communities around that, So, we urge everybody to join our Discord community as well, because, we're going to be talking about this a lot.
Yes.
In the coming months.
All right, that's been Bitmap. If you have any questions, definitely hit us up in the comment section below. Follow us on Twitter at The Block Runner, at MetaZone.io, and at Rovi AI, and we will see you in the Metaverse.
Peace.